15 seconds. Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program.
Hello, Kim Deeper reporting live from ground control. It has now been a full week of our astronaut pastor team being in lockdown on the moon. Last week, they overcame anxiety and conflict by choosing to make the Rejoice choice. Well, I hope that you are as excited as I am to see what adventures that Kelly and Dallas and Hollis are up to today. Let's not waste any time. Pastors, is your telecom system up and running this week? Hello? Kelly, Dallas, Hollis? Come in, pastors. Ground control to pastors on the moon? Hello?
Dallas! Hollis, wake up! Something isn't right!
What? I was having such a magical dream. There were unicorn and ponies and everything.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool, but didn't you feel the ground shake?
No.
It felt like an earthquake.
What?
And there!
What?
What was that?
Oh no, it must be aliens and they're coming to take us away to another planet. I'm not mentally or emotionally prepared to go to Mars.
Maybe we should jump on our spaceship and just head back home. It's better safe than sorry.
I think we should maybe calm down for just half a second, take a deep breath, and evaluate the situation. We don't want to go home yet. We just got here. There's so much still to explore about our mission.
I don't know how you could focus on exploring at a time like this. Oh my gosh, there could be aliens right now lurking over that boulder right there.
Hollis is right. The only thing I can focus on is the fact that we could get smashed at any minute by a meteor. I'm hiding in my sleeping bag.
Hollis, Kelly, listen to me. Listen, this is a great mission that we're on, and it's so important. And sometimes things, we don't know everything, and maybe there are aliens, but if we focus on what is good, and that'll be so much better to focus our mind. There's this guy in the Bible named Peter, and he sometimes struggled with what he focused on too. And I think it really reminds me a lot of this situation.
I could really use a good story right now.
Yeah, it would keep my mind off the aliens for sure.
Yeah, well, why don't y'all go sit on that UFO over there and let me tell you all about it. Not only could Jesus heal the sick and resurrect the dead, but he could also control the wind and the rain. And there's this one story where Jesus was praying on a mountain and he looked down at the Sea of Galilee, this big sea that was there, and he saw a storm. And his friends were in their boat. All the disciples, they were his friends, and they were in the boat, and they were struggling because the storm was so bad they couldn't row the boat anymore. And so Jesus came down and he began to walk on the water towards the boat. And when they saw him walking on the water, they got really scared. Imagine if you're out at Carter Lake and all of a sudden some person goes walking by, you'd probably be a little bit scared, right? But Jesus told them, "It is I, don't be afraid." Jesus knew they were scared and he could see they were in real trouble, but he was asking his friends to trust him. When he asked them not to be afraid, he was asking them to fix their thoughts. So when Jesus said, "Lord, if it's really you," Peter decided, "I'm going to step up here." He said, "Lord, if it's really you, command me to come to you." And Jesus told Peter, "Come to me." So in the middle of the storm, imagine this is you. In the middle of the storm, Peter gets out of the boat and he starts walking on the water towards Jesus. How cool is that? But then when he got near Jesus, Peter looked at the storm and he became afraid. And he felt himself starting to sink. And Peter shouted, "Lord, save me." And Jesus caught his hand saying, "Why did you doubt? Where is your faith?" When Peter had his thoughts on Jesus, what happened? He was trusting him and he was walking on water. But when he looked at the storm and started thinking about it, and when he fixed his thoughts on the storm, he started to sink. And after Jesus saved Peter, they climbed in the boat and immediately the storm stopped. Can you imagine how the other friends of Jesus in the boat felt? I mean, seeing all this, they saw their friend walking on water, and then they saw Jesus stop this really bad storm, and they said, "You must really be God's son." Sometimes it's easy for us to have our thoughts in the right place when things are going good, but we start thinking of the bad things when things go bad. Peter shows us how important it is to think about God and how much he loves us even when things aren't going so good. So when we choose to think about God instead of the storm, we're going to be okay.
Wow, Peter did it. He walked on water. That is definitely an adventure.
Peter did walk on water, but he couldn't do it on his own. He had to keep his focus on Jesus. Otherwise, he would sink.
Yeah, that's how I felt inside when I was thinking about the aliens.
Me too.
I felt like I was sinking into fear.
And that's why it's so important that we remember our mission and stay focused on the mission. But even more important than that, to stay focused on Jesus.
But Dallas, when I see the asteroids and I think of the aliens, I lose my focus on Jesus.
Yeah.
And then I become afraid. How do I keep my focus on Jesus even during the hard and the scary times?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's lots of different ways. For me, I like to listen to worship music and songs about Jesus. What about you, Hollis?
Well, for me, I like to sit down and I actually like to have my handy dandy notebook. And I write down all the good things that God has done in my life. I even like draw pictures and have pictures up. See, I have good pictures of my family and
That is a
church and
great
food,
idea.
my motorcycle.
Those are all great ideas on
is good.
how to keep our eyes focused on Jesus and think about the good things in my life. Your ideas reminded me how much I like to talk with my friends and parents when I'm worried. They remind me that I'm loved by them and by God.
You know, in the Bible, in the letter of Philippians, Paul writes about how important it is to think about the right things, just like we have been talking about here today. All right, kids, while Dallas and Kelly are off exploring for alien life forms and seeing if there's any kind of life here on this planet, I wanted to share with you from Scripture. Today, we're going to be looking at Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 8. And this week, I'm actually reading to you from what's called the Passion Translation. Paul writes, "So keep your thoughts continually fixed on all that is authentic and real, honorable and admirable, beautiful and respectful, pure and holy, merciful and kind, and fasten your thoughts on every glorious work of God, praising him always." See, we need to fix our thoughts. Last week, we talked about making the rejoice choice, and this week, we're talking about fixing our thoughts on God. So how do you do that? Remember that notebook that I talked about in the story? This one. I like to take time every single day to write down things that I'm thankful for, ways that I've seen God moving and at work in my life and in the world around me. And so that helps me to make the choice every day to rejoice. So every day I write it down and I fix my thoughts on God and I make the rejoice choice. So this week, I want to encourage you every day to spend a little bit of time writing it down, or have your mom or your dad or your friend or your sister or your brother help you write down one thing every day that you're grateful for, and one thing or one way that you've seen God moving. Have a great week. We can't wait to see you next week.
How scary that situation must have been to have fear and bad thoughts going through their minds. Thank goodness they didn't get hit by asteroids or taken out by aliens, but they did the right thing by turning to God and His Word in their time of uncertainty. They learned to fix their thoughts on what is good and what is right. Oh my goodness, our astronauts will be on the moon for one more week before returning to Earth. Tune in next time to see what their mission brings and how you too can learn lessons from a lockdown. Kim Nieper reporting live from Ground Control.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I have a handy dandy notebook. Okay.
You didn't feel the ground shake?
No.
We don't